Hello, my fellow car modelers. How are you doing today? Welcome back to another great episode of the Model Car Enthusiast podcast. We got a lot of familiar faces here, bunch of knuckleheads, and well, we got a lot to cover on this one. We got a few things we're going to talk about in this episode. Mark, what episode?
This is 15?
No,
I think we're in the
we're way past that. Where you been?
23 maybe?
22. Hey, but that don't matter. It'll be in the thumbnail.
I think it's 17.
Aren't we in the 20s?
We are. I think it's 22 or 23, but
Mark was out traveling west.
I never bothered to look that up before we start recording because, well, that's no fun. But anyway, so we've got Irv, we've got Mark, we've got Randy, and we've got Jim in today. And there were some really spectacular events in our hobby that took place that the guys down on the bottom row here are going to talk about. And then we have a subject we want to cover that Mark met up with one of our long time from the beginning listeners who had a really great subject for us to talk about, and we're gonna kick in and do that. But real quick, why don't we start off with Jim talking about the IPMS Nats that went on? Just what was it? Was it last weekend, right, or the weekend?
Yes, it was last week.
Last weekend.
Have you gotten rested up, and are you okay? Or you need to drink a little more orange juice or something?
Sort of, kind of. It was excuse me. It was a lot of work. But,
yes. Because you were. What was your position in the?
Well, I was on the council. I was a representative from our club, and there were 11 clubs who helped put this on as volunteers, which it basically takes an army to do this, do the whole thing. In order for us to make, as a club, to make any financial income off of the show, we have to put in at least 40 hours as a club for volunteer time.
Wow.
Our IPMS club is very small, and we only had 4 of us that were able to put in the hours. But there are 11 clubs who help do this, and over the 5 days of volunteer work, there were 26,409 hours put in by the volunteers.
Wow.
It was an epic amount of work. So, and we've been planning this for over 2 years, or right on 2 years, because you bid on it 2 years ahead of time, and then it goes in, and then as our club joined the thing about a year ago, and then I've been on the committee that whole time, so to help get it squared away. But let me do the numbers for the show. The other numbers. There were, man, I got a thingy here. There were 1,063 IPMS members entered. And then we also had 401 outside people come in and visit the show. There were 3,110 entries, which was the second highest ever by 2.
Really?
Yeah. And they had what you call a tiger meet, which is basically like this special interest groups and other things that were in a separate room. Like they even had a table for the last year's 24-hour build representative. So, but there were 1,010 models entered in that thing just for display, which I thought was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me list the countries that showed up.
Oh my goodness.
We had Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, Japan, Czechia, Poland, England, Wales, Ireland, Austria, Sweden, Russia Federation, Argentina, Colombia, Spain, and France, and there were probably some more that I didn't get.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Truly an international.
Oh yeah, truly international. I had a blast meeting a lot of people from around the world. It was pretty cool. In fact, there was there were 3 other podcasts that showed up there, the members of their podcast, and they're pretty famous podcasts. There was the original Scale Model podcast on the bench from Australia,
Mhm.
David Goldfinch showed up there.
Oh.
And I was sitting outside taking a break, and all of a sudden I hear this Aussie voice, and I turned around and I went, Dave? Hi, mate. So I said, I've been wanting to meet you for about 3 years. So we had a good conversation. The Model Geeks podcast, they're out of the DC area. They're a lot of former naval guys. They do mostly aviation stuff. The Plastic Model Mojo, the podcasters, 2 guys out of Kentucky. They call them the bourbon drinking Kentuckians. So,
Mhm.
and there were a couple other podcast people down there, but those 3 were actually did some podcast work down there during the show. So
Yeah. Those are excellent podcasts.
Yeah. So I did a lot. My job mostly was working concierge for the contest room. I think I spent half of the hours that I put in, and doing that, you help people put your models on the table. You greet them at the door and ask them if they're, if they're looking for anything in particular, even if they don't have any models. So it was a fun job. Anytime a person from Canada had a maple leaf on them somewhere, I had I had a couple things I would say to them. I'd say, welcome to America, and we're so sorry, which they appreciated.
Yeah.
So, but at some point toward the end of the week, I think the majority of the entries seem to show up on the last day of entry. For people could only get a day off. So,
Yeah.
but I changed it from concierge to crisis intervention because it's like the 48 scale jets. We originally had 6 tables, and we added 3 more as the week went on.
Wow.
And somebody would come in, and I would just look at their boxes if they were translucent boxes, and I'd see jets, and I'd be like, "Come on, help me," because we'd have to relocate and move, shuffle, and all kinds of things. So there's usually 3 or 4 of us running concierge at the door. Let's see what else. I also ran security for the vendor room. There were 3 vendor rooms. We had the main vendor room. We also had 2 other auxiliary vendor rooms. I do not know how many vendors we had off the top of my head, but they all seemed to have a wonderful time. There were no complaints. The venue was spectacular for them. I didn't hear any reports of thievery from the vendors.
That's
I'd run into a bunch of them in the hotel lobby or in the elevator in the evenings and ask them how it was going, and they would say it's fantastic. A lot of people, a lot of sales going on, so that was pretty cool. During the judging, I was there to help the photographer in the armored section. I was his assistant, taking notes and all that, and we were supposed to go over and help any other photographers if we finished, but we were the last ones done. We started at 6 and finished at midnight during the judging. But I told them if we're gonna go, I can't help you with the automotive because I've got stuff over there. But fortunately we finished last. But later on, I got to go to dinner with 3 of the guys who just happened to judge the automotive section, and they told me that they defended one of my bills pretty heavily from this judge, the head judge, who was pointing things out that weren't necessarily wrong. Like he pointed out what he called a blemish on my Mercedes, and they pointed out, no, that's a fastener.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then on I had I had another car that was a 1935 Bugatti, and it had a period paint job on it, just shiny enough,
Yeah.
And he was going, well, we should mark down because his paint job isn't nice and polished out. And they're like, wait a minute, that's how they looked in 1935 when they raced.
Sure.
They just shot paint on it and took it out to the track. So
This seems to be a reoccurring theme for you over the years when you go to
Well,
shows.
I said thank you for defending my honor.
That's nice.
So-
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the old the Corvette behind you. It's spectacular, and people were saying, certain judges were saying it's not shiny enough. It's like
It
They
did.
weren't- they weren't
It actually
shiny.
did get marked down in the Phoenix IPMS show.
They did, that's
Nationals.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they took marks off for that. So
Wow.
yeah.
So just
water under the bridge. Let's not go there.
just curious, how many entries were in the automotive
you run
category?
into.
But I thanked him considerably for backing me up. But
That's cool.
there was also an aspect to it that I was glad I was within 2 votes of winning the best automotive for my
Mhm.
Mercedes,
Oh.
and I was glad I didn't because I was the sponsor for the best automotive, and it would have been kind of embarrassing going up to the stage and
A little
for that
awkward.
one.
Presenting yourself with the trophy? Yeah. So
Uh,
how many entries were in the automotive category, Jim?
Off the top of my head, I probably want to put it at probably about maybe a little over 500, something
Oh,
like that.
excellent. Wow, great turnout then.
Yeah, really good turnout. And we were making conversation about the difference between the automotive entries 25 years ago at the IPMS versus how they are today.
Mhm.
Because as a group, we've really stepped it up as far as our, the details we put into models. And I mean, we wow a lot of the military guys as far as what we do to them now. Back in the day, they used to call us targets,
Yep.
which I hated.
I remember those.
Civilian vehicles is what it was called in the
Yeah,
early
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
It's still civilian vehicles, but
Yeah.
I never do that. But well, and anyway, overall, my main reason for going to that show was to hook up with a lot of people I haven't seen in years and to make new friends. And I got to see some people that had never met me but were actually looking for me. And say, hey, I've been really enjoy your work over the years, and I'm just glad I got a chance to meet you. And I tell them that's why I'm here too. I see a car on the table and say, I need to see this guy. Anybody know who he is? And I'd find them. And
Yeah, exactly.
so bottom line, that's really personally, that's what these shows are about: to make new friends, have good conversations, and whatnot. But
Yeah, that's also changed in the last 20 to 30 years of
It has.
contests and shows.
yeah, we're not getting any younger,
Well,
and it's nice to catch up with people. I mean,
yes,
I've been, Randy, you and I have been doing this for over 60 years, so.
right. Long time.
But so all in all, I'd just like to thank John Figueroa and his Fort Wayne team for putting on one of the best shows I've ever been to, and the venue and everything. It was well run, well organized. Hats off to the whole team.
That's
Very
great.
good.
That's good. And where is next year's show going to be?
Savannah, Georgia.
Really?
Yep. So it's
Wow.
directly south, and then the next one after that is south, a little farther south in New Orleans.
Huh?
No kidding. Wow.
So we're not going east or west. We just keep going south.
So,
So it's not a question of putting it, let's go east this year and let's go central, let's go west. Now it's the club they're bidding on it because it's hard to get. If you want it bad enough, and you feel you can put it on, they'll take your bid for it. So
Mhm.
and
That's cool.
and a shout out to one of my Michigan club, the Midwest Modelers up in Michigan. They took IPMS Chapter of the Year this year, so I was proud of them. I've been to their show up in Saginaw. They put in a pretty good event. So.
That's great.
Great.
That's pretty cool, man. That's good to
Excellent.
hear that that show has always been. I mean, it seems to be more like for the car modeling hobby. It's getting to be something more.
It's
important
getting
about-
bigger.
because
And
we're getting, like you guys were saying, the car models are getting a little more respected and accepted.
Yeah, and if you're entering an IPMS as a Nationals in the automotive class, you best bring your A game now.
Yeah, yeah, it's looking like it. And the winner of it, I've been talking with him, Kevin Hayes, and he's been coming on strong just recently with his social media and building that truck that he built, which wasn't shiny.
Well, on purpose.
On purpose, yeah. No,
it was a matte metallic blue.
Finish looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a trick to doing a nice matte finish. It's more than just blowing flat paint down. It really is. So, and it was that's a beautiful truck.
Yeah, and him and I talked about that, and so he gave me some pointers on it because I still have to. I did that Verstappen AMG Mercedes, and it's a matte finish in his racing livery.
Yes.
But I told him I shot it with some matte finish from Mr. Hobby, and I said it was too dead. It was just completely killed. It needed some semblance of reflection. So we talked about that, and he told me some tricks of how he does it.
Nice.
I tried his trick. I didn't care for it. I came up with my own.
Yeah, well, that's what you do. You get something from somebody, and then you kind of morph it into your own way of doing it. But it gets you down that road.
Well, I went ahead and took some Tamiya rubbing compound and polished it up just a bit so it had some reflection to it. So otherwise, it was just dead flat. I didn't like that.
I know that, and that's a beautiful model too. Excellent. Well, then there was this other thing that went on.
Yes.
About a month
that I didn't get to go to.
Me neither. I'm kind of.
Me neither, but that was by choice.
Yeah. But we had the grand opening for the model museum. I'm gonna hand it over to Randy and Mark because you guys were there, and Randy was a big part of that thing going.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it was just a splendid event. We were so fortunate to have the museum take on the model exhibit that had been out in Sandy, Utah. That was the first step in the whole thing was getting that in place, and then the move itself. But then the grand opening kind of put a bow on all of that and let a lot of good builders show up for an NNL without any pressure of contest. We just all enjoyed the time together, and if you didn't want to spend any more time in the model display room, you went to the rest of the museum, and a part of that was, of course, the new model exhibit that was unveiled that weekend, and just a tremendous exhibit. At the time we moved, it was about 600 models that we packed up and moved from Utah to Nebraska, plus hundreds and hundreds of other pieces of memorabilia and thousands of documents. And now I think with what they had in place before they acquired the museum from Utah and additional donations that have happened since, I'm sure the total number is now well over 1,000 models in that model exhibit area at the Museum of American Speed. And they're just the perfect place for this. I could not imagine a better place to house the model car museum. They are model builders themselves. There's an understanding there in the management of the museum that what models mean to the car hobby at large and why we build those models and what that connection is for all of us. And sure glad that we ended up there, and they're just the perfect place for it. The curator of the museum, Tim Matthews, in his discussion, he didn't say it in so many words, but he basically pointed out that for what it took to acquire the model car museum, they could have gotten one or two other full-size show cars to add to the museum's collection. But those would not bring the interest or bring in the visitors like the model car exhibit does. And it was really neat through the time we spent there to be up in the exhibit area, and people would come in who were there for the full-size car museum, and it just made an immediate connection with them. Oh, yeah, I remember building these when I was younger. I remember these kits. I need to get back to that. That's how I got in the car hobby in the first place. So that's always very satisfying to be able to close that loop for a lot of people that come to look at the full-size cars at that museum. So we're looking forward to a long, productive relationship with MAS. We certainly plan to have an NNL hosted there again in the future, whether it'll be in 1 year or 2 years. That's all still being worked out, but it's the perfect venue for a proper NNL with, vendor area, the model display area, some People's Choice Awards, and it just provides a perfect place for a multi-day event because there is so much to see in that museum between the full-size cars and the model cars now that it would just be ideal. The local hotels and restaurants in the downtown Lincoln area are perfectly set up to provide for large crowds. We would take 10 to 20 people into a restaurant and sit down, no problem getting served, because they're used to hosting large sporting events in that downtown area. And so big crowds don't scare them. So that adds to the convenience for showgoers to be there. So yeah, by all accounts, it was a very successful grand opening. We were thrilled that people like Jim Keeler and of course Mark Gustafson were able to attend in person, and that really made it extra special to have Mark there as part of it. And he did the ribbon cutting, if you've seen the videos, and that was just perfect, because if not for Mark, that museum exhibit never would have existed in the first place. So we all owe him a large debt of gratitude for recognizing back in the 80s the importance of retaining the history of our hobby and keeping it alive for all of us in the future. So
Oh, absolutely.
yep,
I have
Mark.
been so for that. When I first read about the museum in Scale Auto Enthusiast back in the 80s, and I was just starting out, I didn't know how big this hobby was, and my eyes were starting to open, and I read about this and I thought, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's great that it's because for a while we were all scared that it might just vanish one day.
yeah, could have happened. And Mark had the foresight to recognize that, and I have to say it took a lot of personal courage on his part to turn this over to a
Yes.
new owner.
Yes.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
think of it as sending off your firstborn to college or something, and it's along those same lines, if not more so, because he'd been working on it for 40 plus years, and that was a very special collection to him. A lot of very unique pieces in there that don't exist anywhere else, and it tells the history of the hobby quite nicely. So we we have Mark to thank for that. So thank you, Mr. Gustafson.
Absolutely, 100%. So, Mark, as just a guy who was a spectator there,
Well, he was more
what
than
happened to
Hey.
you?
Just being there, yeah, I was a spectator, but I felt like I was part of it because it was a big thing. And let me say up front, Randy, thank you for all the work you did
Very
in
welcome.
traveling out to Utah, cataloging. When you think about it, guys, when you catalog everything that was in there, have to package it individually because we all know how fragile our
Oh, yeah.
works of art can be.
Yeah.
And to package it and then ship. And I know it wasn't standard shipping, there was something special there, but at the same
Right.
time, that's an undertaking that when you were explaining and Mark was talking about as well,
Mhm.
the length of time that went into just preparing. And what I thought was a little humorous was after everything was said and done, and hey, everybody's excited on the staff of the Museum of American Speed and everybody at the museum, and then it was like the reality of, oh man, we got to pack this stuff up,
Yep, yep, we were,
and it was just wow.
yep, we were a
But
little
no,
like
I would.
the dog that chased the car and we finally caught it and didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, Al Cosby was a big part of that moving process. He spent more hours in the museum in Utah than any of us, going through and packing and organizing. But we did have 2-week-long packing events as we got things together, and there was probably about 4 or 6 people at each one of those working through it. So
Wow.
it was definitely a team effort, and it came together quite well. And just happy that it all got out there relatively safely. So
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm assuming there was some repair, just based off the older kits in general because of the glues and stuff. Was there a lot of repair work to do?
there was enough. Yes, we did the best we could in Utah to get them all together for packing. I did a lot of that work myself, and that was a special moment actually because right in the midst of all of that relative chaos of organizing and packaging and repairing, I'm holding one of Don Emmons' models,
Yeah.
repairing it for packing,
Wow.
and he was my modeling hero when I was a kid. And so it's like, wow, full circle. I'm now helping preserve Don's work for future generations to enjoy as well. But and then when it got out there to Nebraska, some of the local people pitched in as well. Byron Burnham was a big part of that. He's a volunteer at the museum. If you've seen the videos, he's the very friendly guy with the big white beard, and just a super fellow. And he's a model builder, a local model builder there in Lincoln, and he did a lot of the repair work on site as well. So yeah,
You guys
again,
also did some sympathetic restorations on some of these things too, right?
a little bit. That probably was more so on the Richard Carroll models
Yeah.
that were acquired. They weren't
That,
in Utah, but they were acquired a little after the move. And Bob Jernigan and Fred Chandler went down and picked those up, brought them all back to Bob's house in Florida. And then Tim Kolankowitz and Bob Jernigan and myself last fall during the Cartersville show, the Acme show, we sequestered ourselves in a hotel room that Friday of the show weekend and went through all 43 of the Richard Carroll models. Basically, first of all, trying to figure out which pieces went with which models. And then I went through and gave them an idea of how we've been restoring or repairing models for transfer from one museum to the other, and got through 10 of the 43, and then the remainders got split between Tim and Bob, and they really put in the hours and the effort to
they
you
did
know,
a great
repair.
job on those too.
Oh, they just did a tremendous job.
Yeah,
So
those are some, and that is some work because the delicacy of Richard's builds, even
yeah,
when he built them, and of course the video that I put together for Auto Modeler magazine.
yeah,
that's
for
on
Scott,
YouTube,
yes,
you could see as that's when they were all being opened up and
Yes.
seen for the first time, and
right.
spectacular. And they were pretty well preserved, but in a lot of them were in a lot of pieces. And when I
They
heard
were.
about you guys doing that, I was not envious of you, but then it would have been cool,
It
Boy,
was,
some work.
it was, yeah,
It's
it was
great
very,
to have guys like you that will do that, because that was a really important collection that almost slipped by. Got it?
Yeah. It could have been gone.
Yeah.
It could have been gone.
If
Yep.
if they would if Scott if they wouldn't have pursued that to meet
that's
him
Scott
and to
Comer
talk
all
to
day.
him, that could have been like any of our collections. It could have just been
lost.
lost.
When
So that was a
when
critical
Scott
part of that
Comer-
whole.
Oh gosh, yeah. When Scott
Yeah.
Comer when we first talked right before the magazine launched, and he was going on about trying to hunt down. He asked me, "Do you know where Richard Carroll is?" He was asking everybody.
Yeah.
He was determined to find him.
Yep.
And then we worked out. We do that video together, and that was his whole goal, is to find that collection, and
Yeah.
hopefully get that to the museum.
That was
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
And what
Let me
what
tell you,
time, because
it
we
is
lost Richard
it is
last year.
presented beautifully.
Yeah, we lost
Yeah.
Richard. So
Very
Yeah.
important
the timing
collection.
was great.
Right. Yeah, those models were quite special, and
They're very
they
special.
really did survive pretty well, considering they spent decades up in an attic in Florida. They weren't too bad. Locating pins were just kind of a future concept back in the 70s on a lot of those builds, and it was a challenge for Tim and Bob, because you basically had to study the model and look for little clues as to where things had been attached. The outline of where the glue had been for so many years. The epoxy was used in a lot of cases. He soldered a lot of things as well and plated them. And so Bob and Tim were perfectly suited for going back through those and
Yes.
correcting them and getting them all back together. So,
Yes, that was, yeah. I spent a lot of time with editing that video. I really got to look very closely to those models, even though I wasn't actually there. But yeah, in my editing bay, and spent a lot of time with them, and I was like, wow, they are, for the time period, how
Yeah.
long ago they were done, the work that he did
Oh yeah.
was
Yeah.
amazing.
yep.
Oh, and advanced painting. His painting skills
Painting and
Right.
for
writing.
for that time
Back
period.
then, yeah.
Yeah,
That was
that's
excellent.
amazing.
Yep.
Amazing
And-
paint.
And his work is what caused MPC to create a professional class,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
he and also Denny Johnson, those two were just dominating with all their scratch building and wild paint and plating and whatnot. And so then, for whatever reason, they got pushed into a professional class in those contests. So
Yeah, definitely. And can you imagine today a model show that has for the grand prize a brand new Chevrolet?
yeah, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Crazy that happened back then, but
Yeah. Well, those were,
It did.
yeah, the hobby was big in those days. They were
What?
selling, probably millions of kits in total. And yeah, those days are behind us, but in
Oh.
so many ways, this is such a much better period of time in the hobby, I think, in terms of certainly the quality of the work. Because, yeah, you had your Denny Johnsons, your Richard Carrolls, they were at the top of the heap in those days, but it was a very spiky pyramid. It was those guys and then everybody else kind of a flat below them. And now the quality at these shows, I don't need to tell you four guys, you've seen it, you know it.
yeah, that's for sure.
Every car or every model in every category, there could be a best of show in any
Yeah.
of those.
Well, with 3D
Yeah.
printing and aftermarket parts and
Yep.
everything, I wish I was 20 years younger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same,
everything.
same, yep.
I think we all do.
Yep. So, yep, the hobby is in good shape. Yeah, maybe not selling millions of kits, but we certainly have thousands of enthusiasts that come out to these shows and participate. What you all do with your podcasts and your video series, that's helping it grow, and that's pushing it in totally new directions that could have never been imagined back in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you all for what you do as well.
Well, it was awful
Well-
nice to see a lot of 20 somethings and 30 somethings out at the IPMS with
Oh,
MPC,
yeah.
so that
Yeah,
was
that's
encouraging.
Yeah.
always
So,
fun.
sorry to hog it, Mark Batson, you were there as well. Any other thoughts on the grand opening?
Well, oh yeah. Don't get me started now. So, well, during the kind of get together ceremony before the ribbon cutting, as I was listening to Mark talk about the museum, the reality of, and this is echoing a little of what you said, Randy, the reality of his passion, his love for maintaining the history, the background, stuff that I've been building since 1963 with my dad. And I remembered a lot of that stuff. But as he was talking about it, you could almost feel the passion that the love that he went into it. And again, it
Yeah.
made me really appreciate the fact that he is entrusting these guys with part of the love of his heart.
Yeah.
And that's a very special thing. And then to hear Bill, the guys that the was it Smith on the
Clay.
museum?
Clay Smith, the
Yeah, yeah.
director. Yes.
I'm getting them backwards here, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
but to hear their passion, not only that them say that they built model cars, but you could almost feel the excitement within them, which really jacked me up to know that hey, they really wanted to be part of this
Yes.
community, this hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then when
for
you
it.
got upstairs
Yeah.
and actually see the museum and the glass, the like crystals, the glass, the mirrors, the lighting,
Oh wow.
Yes.
man, they really put their hearts into displaying
Yeah.
these models too. And I mean, it's first rate, guys. It's first
It
class.
is.
And that's reflected in the passion they had for how they are displaying it too.
You
Yep.
know that
Absolutely.
that's a point that when I found that out from you guys of uh, how they feel, the curators feel about the hobby, 'cause that was a concern I have. It was like, okay, yeah, we'll bring it in type thing, but no, they are truly, you know, they're spiked about it. They're
Yeah.
into it, and they love the hobby, and it shows. It shows how they laid that whole thing out, and that made me feel okay. This is now preserved. It's solid.
Yeah. It's a
Well, I
safe
took a lot
haven.
of video. I took a
I
lot of
think
video of different things going on, but I think it was 840 still shots in the Real Car Museum for research and stuff that inspired me. That I mean, salt flat land speed cars have never been something. I mean, I had an appreciation because my dad really liked them back in the 50s, 60s. He used to talk about the Green Monster and all of these things. And it wasn't my thing. But as I walked through there, I found myself taking tons of pictures, reading everything. And I got one in my head now,
Ah.
Yeah.
inspired.
Only
But,
one? Only one?
well, no, that was just one land speed. I'm not going to talk about
Ah, okay.
the other floors of cars in there, but
Yeah.
wow. The inspiration, the engine, the rooms that are just engines, and I love engines. So I'm taking pictures of different angles, but like I said, 840 still shots, and I don't think I took enough.
No
But
problem. So,
it was awesome inspiration. And you know what? In 3 days, though, I don't think I saw everything in the automotive museum.
no.
I don't think I did because I would get partway through a floor, the first floor, second floor. When I got to the third floor, then I'm dashing back down to where the models are displayed, and
Yep.
they just kept coming in, and
Yes.
the tables were full. Right, Randy? They were just,
Yeah.
and it just to see the models was great, but to see these people
Mhm.
and to meet so many people and to see stuff that I've seen in magazines, whether it was in the museum or on the table, to see stuff that was that I've seen, like I said, in magazines or online, and to physically see that up front, oh wow, that was just some great stuff.
Yes, it was.
Um,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and to meet the people, but like I said, guys, the museum itself, wow, they really showed their passion for it too. And even Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there a couple of people that made donations to the museum
Oh,
for them to buy more glass cases?
yeah. More than a
I
couple.
think I
And
overheard that.
Wow.
yes, yeah, we had a lot of donations come in out of that event. There were two auctions held during the course of the weekend. One was a
Yeah, that's
silent
right.
auction that was populated with kits and pieces from some of the event sponsors, like Atomic City and Iceman Collections, and some others donated different pieces for the
MCV products and
Yep,
yeah,
MCV. Yep, for all the silent auction, and then also Mike Pearsall from the Northwest brought about 20 projects that had been Jarius Watson's projects that were
Oh,
in the works when he passed away, when Jars passed away, and those went on to an online auction through the course of the weekend. And between those two auctions, we raised roughly $2,200 alone, just between those two, plus the rest of the show and the donations that came in. And then a lot of people elected to donate their models for the model exhibit as well. So there was a few racks full of models staged, and now the museum is accessioning those, adding them to their inventory, documenting those, and working on updating the exhibits. So pretty exciting. Definitely a good, bright future for that whole model exhibit.
I think the best thing about the exhibit is, we no matter what level you're at, I think we treat model car building as an art. And to
Yes,
see it appreciated now as an art form, not necessarily just model cars, to see it displayed like it's art, like it
yes,
should
yeah.
be. We some guys, you say we never get any credit for, it's just toys. It's not, but to us it's art, and to see it
correct.
displayed as art, it just makes it that like it's like kind of went around full circle now, and it's being treated as an art form, which I think it should be.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
and you weren't there, Irvin. You
I
picked up
know.
on, and you picked up on that though, because that was the general overall feeling that we got from the museum, and especially Clay Smith, the director, and Tim Matthews, and all the others as well. That I felt like finally, after all these decades of building models and most full-size car people looking down their noses at them as toys, like you said, no, these people get it. They understand that this is
Yeah.
artwork. This is part of the larger automotive hobby. It's
Yep.
just a different aspect of that same
Yeah.
hobby. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. You
I'm
sure you
I'm
weren't
looking at the
there?
not too distant future for myself, and I'm thinking, I got about 4 or 5 of mine that got to go somewhere because they deserve to go somewhere. So
Yes, they do. You're right. And
otherwise they're gone.
yeah,
right,
and they'll
really,
get to be enjoyed by thousands, millions
thousands.
of people. You don't
Yep.
know. I mean, it's just you know, it's just amazing that this opportunity came available to you guys to do this,
Yep.
and as far as Mark, to take your lifetime collection of
Yes.
what you have and to pass that on. I can't imagine. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to get rid of what we have if we get the opportunity to get rid of it before our wives get rid of it.
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine just handing it all over one day and just saying, here you go. And
There you go. Yeah.
that had to be hard.
No, it would be, but yeah, all of us certainly need to keep that in mind as we move
Yeah,
forward, because there's no better place for them to reside at
yeah.
this juncture. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. All right. Thank you
It
for
was,
that opportunity.
I have said in my videos when I do show coverage, every now and then you always hear me say, this was a great show, had a lot of fun, great people, great. And for this one, I actually changed that up and I said, guys, this was not just a great show. This was an experience,
Yeah.
Yes.
because it was definitely a totally different experience. And to be part of it was great. I really hope they do it again. They expressed an interest
Oh, yes,
in doing it again.
absolutely. And yeah, we'll
So
be
glad to hear that.
we'll be getting the advisory board back together here starting in September. We took August off. Sorry about that, but
Gee, why?
yeah, I don't know, lazy, I guess. But we'll get back together and continue to work with MAS and figure out where is the future headed, not only for this NNL event, but also the exhibit itself. What sort of areas do we need to grow in? Because even with everything that's in there, uh, it it starts to thin out around the year 2000, and the collection does not have much from the last 20 or 25
Oh,
years. And
okay.
Interesting.
we know how much growth has happened in those last 2.5 decades, and there are so many significant models out there and so many significant model builders out there that need to be recognized. And so the modern era, if we want to call it that, certainly is one area that I'd like to see us be able to expand into, because not only the builders and the models, but the aftermarket and the influencers such as yourselves that make this hobby what it is today. So all that needs to be recognized as well. So who knows what the future might bring, but looking forward to helping shape that as we go forward.
One other question, Randy, when our viewers are watching this
Yeah.
podcast, is there a way to specifically give to the model part of the museum, or does it have to be a general donation?
No, there certainly is a way to
Okay.
donate and, earmark that donation for
Okay.
certain usage. And all the information is on the Museum of American Speed website, and there's the documents are there. So, yep, that's a good question.
Yeah, and we'll
Thank
put
you.
a
Yeah, that is.
we'll put a link in the description and take you right there.
Okay.
I filled out, they have two of my bills that were from 14 and 17 years ago that honestly, they've been sitting in boxes.
Yeah.
And as my wife reminded me, she said, well, why don't you do this car and this car? She said, nobody else is getting any enjoyment out of
Yeah.
them.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, but I filled out some paperwork there at the museum, and I got a packet in the mail day before yesterday from them.
Excellent.
Some other documents to fill out.
Yep.
Kind of like I'm signing over the title,
A little bit. Yes.
but
Well-
it's okay. Well, that's the way I'm putting it anyway. But it's
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, to be part of it even in that way, that is a good question, Herb.
Yeah, and I already joined their membership. Their membership's very reasonable. It's $35 a year, and I got my wife on that too. I think it was 35 and 45. So just she was an extra $10, I think, to join. So we actually have passes, so you can get I think you get up to a year. You can go to the museum and get in for free. I think that's a reasonable way of supporting the museum also in general. So don't just look at the donations. Look to join and support them.
Yeah.
From
I
this
will
point
join.
on. So
And it's definitely a destination type of place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can
Absolutely.
go there and spend days and not cover it all, especially now because the model exhibit may be a smaller physical space than the full-size car exhibit, but it has
Spend more time.
it has at least as many items in it. And so the time you can spend in that corner of the museum probably rivals what you'll spend on the other floors. And
wow.
there's 3 full floors of exhibits and different memorabilia, different vehicles for the full-size car museum. And yeah, easily could spend days there without any issue.
And I still don't think I saw everything. I
No, I'm
really
sure
don't.
we didn't. Yeah.
That's
But great
wonderful.
inspiration. Beautiful stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank
It's
you,
very
you guys.
fun. Yep. Thank
you
you.
guys so much. Thanks for talking about both those shows. Such significant events for our hobby, and like what you were saying, Randy, the hobby today is bigger than it has ever been in a different way than it was back in the old Richard Carroll era. But there's so many people involved, and with the social media and all that, and having events like this that have grown in such big proportions, it just shows how strong the hobby and how much everybody is so there's so many people, and then everybody has now become friends and know one another,
Right.
like yeah, it's those type of events are so important in a museum like that, and then putting on an event either year by year or every other year, I think is going to be such an important thing we need. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that it's taken on a new life. It
Hmm.
worried me for a while, so this is awesome. That's really awesome. But so with that, we've got one other little thing to chit chat about that was pretty cool. That I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark, because this was kind of your meeting with somebody that gave you an idea for us to talk about something that is, I think, something pretty cool to discuss about model car
Yeah, kind
building.
of a cool topic.
It is.
At the Kernersville show, ran into Weasel, one of our Mark, but Weasel as we know him,
Yeah.
uh, at the show, and he sat down with me as I was taking a little break and grabbed a drink, and he said, "Listen, I got a topic for the podcast." And I said, "Okay, let's hear it." And he said, "Perfection or presentation? Which one's best?" And that's his words. And I thought, you know what, all right, well, I think we could discuss that. And
Yeah.
so,
It is. It's definitely.
perfection, perfection or presentation, guys.
Well,
Randy, why don't
Yes.
you start us, because you'd made a good point earlier about defining those a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that is probably the next step in this conversation is how do we choose to define uh, presentation? That's probably the more nebulous of the two terms. And Jim, in our side discussions earlier, suggested instead of perfection, accuracy might be a better way to call it out. But you've got, in terms of the perfection or accuracy, to me, that means the model is true to the full-size prototypes, whether it's an actual replica or your own creation. That doesn't matter. It's still prototypically accurate if it has all the right equipment in all the right places to be a scaled down representation of either a car that does exist, had existed, or could exist if somebody had put their mind to building one. So I think that's maybe the easier half of the discussion is the perfection slash accuracy side of it. The presentation, I'm kind of assuming he's talking about the flashiness or the eye candy part of exhibiting a model, the various colored paints. Maybe he's also talking about how you present it on the contest table, because we've all seen the light shows, the mirrors, the turntables, the tiered displays showing all the pieces in different states of build. And so I'm assuming that's what he was talking about, and we'll go with that.
And the presentation part of it is you're also trying to show it off as so the judges can see as much as they can. That's part of your
Yes,
presentation.
the judges and or the people's choice
And the
people,
spectators,
the
yeah.
spectators,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and so all of that is important. I think, in my mind, they're kind of equal. You have to the accuracy and perfection, in my mind, has to be there first of all, because and if you're really serious about trying to go after the gold, you can't have an incomplete or inaccurate model on the table, because that just will get caught eventually by a judge somewhere or a person somewhere. The presentation part probably becomes a lot more important in a non-judged event, like a people's choice type event. I think back to that Acme show in Atlanta last fall. There were almost 1,000 models there, 900 and some models there, and it's a one-day show. So how you're even going to look at all those, probably not going to happen. So what catches your eye then? What display of a model or the model itself catches your eye and draws you to it and pulls you in, so you do study it more and come to appreciate what the builder had in mind and what they were trying to accomplish with it. So to answer Weasel's question, my perspective, they're both important. The first one, the perfection slash accuracy, it's got to be there regardless. The presentation then just is how you sell your model, so to speak, to the judges and the viewing public. So there's my 10 cents worth on it.
Very good.
There's
Thank you.
there's the down and dirty side of it too, where you'll see people bring something and put it on the table, and their presentation, they didn't even like. It's been sitting in their showcase for a while, and there's dust all over it, and that's
Yep.
part of the presentation. If you're not going to take the time to clean it up, or even if it's even we go back to a model and you see something that you should have fixed when you built it a year earlier, and you're like, how did I miss that? So
Yeah.
to go ahead and do that, because outside eyes are going to spot that. So there's another aspect of the presentation. Take a look at it before you even bring it to the contest again, because all of a sudden you got new eyes since you haven't looked at it in a while.
Right. Yep. Very true.
Oh yeah, how much time do we spend on our models that we're bringing to a show? The week before, going through them, fixing things, cleaning them, every little nook and cranny.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
For
important.
sure.
What I love about this discussion on this particular subject is the three gentlemen you see at the bottom here are all like checking history, doing research, making sure everything's correct. And then I'm the total
That's
opposite.
fun.
Yeah, but I'm the
It is
total.
fun.
I got the other perspective. I'm totally opposite of you guys. I'm more about the vision. I see it in my head. I have to have it. It like to me, the photography has to look good, but the correctness doesn't have to look good. So I am totally different style of builder than what you three gentlemen are, because you three or just you're like Richard Carroll used to be. You guys are more on that next tier where it has to be correct. It has to be you do the research, you do the history part of it, and you see that in your builds. And
And
I'm the flashy guy. I like it has to look good to me. I gotta have bright colors. I gotta have. I've noticed that in NLs and stuff now. You got so many cars. If you don't have something that stands out, it's easy to get looked
yep,
over.
where's your
Um,
gotcha?
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
in my building, I do have a couple that I spend a lot more time on, but they don't get any attention because
Yep.
they don't have the flash and stuff. And so that's a really good. This is a really good subject because, and especially with you three and then me, and like it's a totally different. I'm at one end and you guys are at the other end. So I love this discussion because it just really
Yep.
shows the contrast between the two styles.
And
Sure.
I think Randy will agree with me that 50% of our joy is probably doing the research on the car.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Just
Absolutely.
getting
Yeah.
down and
To
dirty
me,
and
that's
digging
the
the
real
internet.
fun
And
part is when you
if you,
research, find the pictures, travel. Well, Randy's done this.
Yeah.
Travel to see stuff, the real
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Um, get as many
So
pictures as you can. And for me, the fun of it is okay. I have the accurate pictures. I
Yeah,
have the documentation. Now the challenge that's fun for me is let me replicate that.
yeah,
That's where I have fun.
yeah,
yeah.
but I would also take exception a little bit to Irv, his statement. I know he goes after the flashy models, but you're also a astute enough builder that you have the accuracy. You're
Yes.
not going in there with spark plug wires as big as garden hoses and things of that nature. So
and you also have a knack for aesthetics too, because that
yeah,
Aston
Yeah.
Martin you're working on right now, the
yeah. That
aesthetics
oh
on that
boy,
that's
are top notch.
Yeah.
and
yeah,
that's a I
and
just I think differently than you three do. Like I said, it's a totally different method to my madness that comes out of here. That's totally different than what you guys are doing.
But you know
And,
what looks
and
good
it's
in
not
your brain.
worse or better. It's just different. It's just a
it's different
different
aspect.
style.
Yep, different aspect of the same hobby,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
both
Mhm.
have their place, and
They do. Yep.
both have their challenges. And
Yes.
I would also argue that in many ways, the way you're building is indeed closer to the Richard Carrolls of years past,
Absolutely.
because in those days they were facing the same problem. How do I get the attention of the judges?
Yeah.
And how else would you explain somebody who answers that question by putting a 24th scale engine in a 43rd scale body? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
the zingers that Denny Johnson came up with, those
Yeah.
were presentation.
Yeah.
At the time, those weren't much for accuracy or perfection. Those
No,
were
but
Yeah.
as
attention getters.
teenagers, we were
That's
enamored with
excellent.
all that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
excellent,
yeah.
man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
excellent.
I mean,
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
Very
Richard
well
was
done.
more of a abstract builder.
He was. Yep.
His art
Yeah.
was very abstract,
He
very
was the Picasso of this hobby.
Right.
like you couldn't
Yeah.
blow that thing up and have it in real life with the tires the way they were. But
Right.
but still,
Still, they're
still
fun.
in that, they were so cool. I mean, it's like they were
were.
but they were definitely works of art where they were just free.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have any boundaries.
Right.
Like some of us have, we have boundaries and we don't go
Yeah.
outside of that. Well, Richard just like there was like there's no boundaries on his building at all.
Yeah,
It was just
Richard's
Right.
Richard's
I don't know
models.
about you guys, but I always wanted a set of those tires.
like I did too.
Couldn't
Those
afford
were
them.
cool. Richard's builds were definitely leaned on that was all about presentation. That was a
Yeah.
heavy presentation model.
Yep. It was. Yep.
So
So
my thing. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
Oh, no, I was just going to point out that in those days, trying to get the attention of the judges, as we mentioned, that was first and foremost. And very, very few people were building precision models, I'll call them, to use
Yeah.
Weasel's term. That was just a whole different game. And that was more of the Don Emmons side of the hobby. He was more the precision builder, and Richard and Denny were more the presentation builders. And the hobby has gone through a transition, and even now the presentation builders, such as yourself, Irv, are still precision builders, whether you want to admit it or not, because you have appropriate sized pieces, you have realistic stances to the vehicles, you have realistic components. And so the models in general have all elevated up to a much
Right.
more realistic plateau than they ever did back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, the big wow factor back then was, he opened up his doors and they're all hinged up and they're nice, but
Right.
the hinging and all that was completely
Just
inaccurate. And
Right.
you also got the look, his butterflies work on his blower,
right.
and they looked pretty bad, but they worked.
But they
Everybody
worked.
was wowed
yeah.
about
But they
that.
work.
Yeah.
And he bolted
Yeah,
that front suspension together with double aught 90s, which would be like, bridge bolts in our world.
Yeah, definitely.
But that wowed a lot of people back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't
look at that,
done. I
look at
mean,
that.
other
Oh, my
people didn't do
goodness.
that. So
Yeah, and we all built off of that foundation.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
we refined both sides of that. We've refined the precision and the accuracy, and we've refined the presentation. And realized that it didn't take a crazy, wild, unrealistic custom to get the attention of the judges and the attention of the showgoers. You can have a very realistic model, and it can still be of your own creation, your own imagination, and still have a lot of wow factor, but it's still realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My favorite word comments from people is two words: shrink ray.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That looks like it came from a shrink ray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very true.
Thank you. I'll
That
I'll
is
take
that
run
is
with
an
it.
ultimate compliment in the models that you build and what you're
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. I mean, I build more for photographs. Like to me, if a model's photographed and someone has to double take the look at it, that to me is satisfying for me, personally. But to do stuff like you guys are doing, that's a whole nother level for me.
Well, and
But-
that's another aspect that I don't think people fully understand or appreciate, how digital photography transformed the hobby.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
When it first came in, I think you'll all recall some of the early articles in probably Scale Auto at the time showing digital photographs of some of these models, and now you're looking at these things under magnification
Oh yeah.
that they weren't built under, and the
Yeah.
mistakes show up, the inaccuracies in scale show up, and without even knowing it, we modified our building methods, techniques, materials, so that now digital photography zooming in on that piece makes it look realistic.
Yeah.
And I use digital photography to check my own work so I can get that
Absolutely.
magnification
Oh, that's a good
and
idea.
Very
see
good.
what
Yeah.
did
I
I
do that
screw
too.
up or what
Yeah.
do I need to fix or
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
add a
idea.
little
that all the
paint here or
time.
there.
Yeah, the camera does not lie.
No.
I learned that scratch building a Richard Petty Grand Prix NASCAR stocker before the Grand Prix kit was released. And I'm scratch building the body out of an old Oldsmobile NASCAR kit, and I'm taking pictures as I go. And when they came back from being developed, yes, those were film pictures in the day.
Yeah, that was way
I'm
back when.
looking at them and going, wow, these proportions are just wrong. And your eye in 3 dimension in real time corrects for those things because it knows what it wants to see. But
Yeah.
a 2D picture laying on the table, it stands out very readily. And
Yeah.
so that's another aspect of the hobby that it's come along because of that technology.
Oh yeah, there's been so many times I would do a video, showing one of my actual completed models. Once in a while happens, and I put it on the little turntable and I just discuss it and I just let the thing turn and let the camera film it. And I'll watch those videos back and it's just like I see things that I never noticed on the model and I just go, oh gosh, it's.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. And the camera sees things our eyes doesn't. So
Yeah.
it's always good to do that.
Yep.
Mm,
Definitely.
So yeah,
does.
so thank Weasel. I've had the pleasure of meeting him at the Atlanta show, and
Nice.
yeah, that's a great conversation starter, and
That is really good.
good one to go through. So thank you, Mark, for bringing that forward.
And
Yeah.
I've got to do a
Thank you.
couple of builds like Irv does as far as the presentation side of it, and I've had to completely change my whole mindset while I'm working on them,
Mhm.
and just so what's a great background to shoot it in when I'm doing photographs and things like that. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. That's a thing that's become such a big part of the hobby too, because of social media is now getting in good with how you photograph your model, and now people are coming up with beautiful backgrounds and stuff. I know there's guys doing AI. I
Yeah.
I would rather see someone build their background and make it look realistic. And there are a couple of guys that have built some backgrounds that they take pictures of their models, and it absolutely tricks
Yeah.
the eye, thinking that
You
it's a
you
real.
got to look at them a couple times just to make
Yeah, and there
sure.
was no AI involved in those.
Yeah.
Those guys, there's more to that. I look at it. That's not just an amazing model, but an amazing background, and you did an amazing job in your photography. That's like 3 art forms right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
that is one heck of a presentation and accuracy. But I'm kind of like split between the bottom row and this guy over here because I really enjoy, especially race cars. Really put it on me. I rivet count myself. Let's just say, you guys can understand that. I never look at somebody's model the way they built it, and I've never say, well, that car really wasn't like that. That's how they wanted to build it. That's fine. But I put myself under the pressure of no, this has to be correct if I'm building, like you said, Randy, whether it is of an actual real race car or a fictional race car, but it race in a certain division. You still got to be correct. I mean, I have stacks of rule books. I'm crazy like that. And that's something I enjoy, that accuracy. I really enjoy putting into my builds. And I've got a few of those going. But then there's times I'm like Irv. I'm thinking of which this is kind of what I took when I first heard his, it was between accuracy or presentation or precision. What was it originally said? Precision or
Presentation.
What I kind of took as presentation was
Perfection or presentation.
Oh, perfection. That's right. Perfection.
perfection or presentation. Let's
Yeah.
use his words for a second on that. And my take on the presentation thing was building a model of how, like what Irv was talking about. I just want it to look really cool sitting there on the table, have the right stance. The paint job is really cool and all that. If it's not 100% accurate, I'm not worried about it. I mean, I will do a model that's all about how it's sitting there on the table, and sometimes they don't even have an engine. I don't do any detail under, anything that's not seen. Basically, go curbside. That's why I really enjoy curbsides too. So I float in both worlds here. I
Right.
kind of wraith. So I can
Well,
appreciate both. So I kind of put it. It depends on what I feel like doing. I have so many, way too many, and every day more come. Every day I have an inspiration, something that inspires me, and I get a modeling idea, and I want to build all these models, which is impossible. And sometimes I think I gotta make them simple, just to get them out of my head and onto the table.
right.
Well,
And
and, yeah,
So,
not
so
every subject is worthy of a full-out killer contest model either.
exactly.
Right, too.
No,
Well,
there's
there was
that aspect of it as well.
yeah,
like about it was about 10, 12 years ago. I wanted to build the C7 Corvette race GT race car, the Corvette racing team that
mhm.
Le Mans,
Yeah.
Daytona, Sebring, and I just wanted to build one, look nice and all that. And then while I was in the middle of building one of them, the two team cars had the closest finish in the history of Daytona. So we went into a presentation mode where I wanted to present them going across the start finish line together. So here we go. We got another car, and then somebody had published. They did a walk around of both cars post race in the paddock area with all the goobers and everything all over them. So I had the full weathering. And I did it to the nth degree as far as the tar and everything all over them.
Yeah,
Each
Sure.
car was just
I
like
love
the
that.
original. Then I did the Daytona angled up start finish line. Did that with the wall,
Holy
and
cow!
that turned out pretty good as a diorama.
Mhm.
It is a slippery slope.
Yeah, I got
Sometimes you
sucked
start
into
in one
that hole
direction,
pretty
and all of a
hard.
sudden there's like a fork in the road,
And
and you kind of go both ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I had a blast. I had a blast weathering them up pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I love post race car. I do a lot of my race cars post race. I love
Mhm.
putting you put I find it interesting actually putting a beautiful paint job down and then start messing it up. I find
Oh.
that to look more realistic.
Start messing it up.
Yeah, I
Is that
love
the term, messing it up?
I just do
Yeah.
that naturally.
Technical term.
Yeah, sometimes it just happens. I mess them up.
I
But
don't even have to try that.
yeah,
No, and, the real great part is that there's room for all those different
Yeah.
It is.
styles.
That's
in
what I
the
There's
love
no
about
wrong
the
way.
automotive
And
modeling community. There
Yeah.
are no guidelines. Like the military has to stay within.
yeah, there's no, yeah,
Yeah, there's no custom tanks, right?
Nope. Well, there might be.
that's right.
An art
That's
form.
right.
Yeah, definitely. No, there's no wrong way of doing it. There really
Yeah, I
isn't.
mean and it's like I said, it's an art, and I think the car guys treat it more like an art
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
that degree. Art isn't supposed to be always this way. It's supposed to
Well,
be this way.
I
Yeah.
actually heard a podcast about 6 years ago or so that they were actually the discussion was, is it art or not?
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah.
And they went on and on and on for like 2 hours on
Good
that,
grief.
and just that subject
Well,
alone.
if it's art to the individual builder, there you go.
Bingo.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
build for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
But I always considered it an art form. I
Art
always.
is supposed to bring about an emotional response from
Yeah.
the observer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you have it. Well, but to me, it's also, I think, pretty cool that you can go to these shows and you can see both sides of this discussion we're having. And they're both
Yeah.
accepted, they're both appreciated and respected at those shows. And
Yes.
so that just is, I think that speaks a lot for just the character of the builders and their understanding of what goes into all these projects.
True
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
And just for the record, I am the only one to ever put 63 Impala wheels onto a DB5 Austin Martin.
Oh, wow.
Good thing.
They look
But you know
awesome,
what?
Irv.
That looked cool. That looked really
It
cool.
really did turn out well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, man, this was a packed fill podcast here. A lot of cool stuff we covered. Thank you guys. This
Thank
was
you.
this was a fun discussion. All three of the discussions actually. Thanks for the Jim and Randy talking about those events, and of course old hobby dude there got to be at one of them and give his point of view from a spectator, and then there was Irvin, and I came along for the ride too. So what can I say?
Look at Irv.
But yes, thank you all for watching. This was a great one, and well, we'll just go ahead and go around the clock, starting with Irvin and saying what we say at the end.
I'm Irvin Arterake on YouTube's, and I do have Instagram, but I'm not really sure how to use it.
You still haven't gotten
I
that
put a
done.
couple pictures on there, but I don't know. It's like one
I can't.
story, so I don't
You're
know what's
too
going
old.
on.
I cannot get the Instagram to fire up for me very well.
So that's it from my house.
I am Mark Batson, Hobby Dude 007 on YouTube and Facebook.
And I'm Randy Durr, and I'm not on any of those.
No.
So I guess I'm the dinosaur in the room.
He's just a model builder.
I'm just a model builder.
He's just a model builder.
I'm Jim Drew, still the junior knucklehead. So
Yeah, he is. You're getting close to you've been on enough of them now. You're getting right up to that senior knucklehead.
you're not
Sorry.
getting rid of me that easy. So.
No, don't want to either. And of course, this is me, Luka C, or knowing Matt. If you're watching this, you're on my channel, so I don't need to blow off about that. But I do have a company, by the way. I don't know if any of you know. It's called Luka C Products. I make really cool model car stuff. And, I have a website and down in the description. So please check that stuff out. And we've got more new things coming. And I will just throw this little plug out real quick. I am now carrying a company out of Poland. Can you guys see that? SCO model. With Scale Car Online, and they do amazing 3D print stuff. This stuff is pretty cool, man. We got it on the website, and it's up for sale. And hopefully this works out and we start bringing more into the country, because I know I got to be friends with Adam, the guy who owns and does all that work, and he's been having a tough time. His customers have been having a tough time here, the customers in the United States, getting his stuff out of Poland. So maybe I can be that conduit, and I'm happy to do it. Hopefully with this, I'll be also carrying I got some other companies I'm talking to that I might start carrying. So check out the website and keep it on your the bookmarks. Again, down in the description below. Again, thank you guys. This was fun. What a great time. And as we say here, keep gluing those fingers together. Keep cutting that styrene. And we'll see you in the next podcast. And
Here's the producers.